Greetings, everybody. I am here today doing a sort of a kind of a special live stream today, kind of ad hoc again. I just thought I'd be talking about the Tempest, the Psalms 83 war, and what's going to happen beyond. Back in October of 2023, I did a little series on the what's going on in the Middle East with what happened on October 7th and what to expect. I went in great details on that, so I thought I would give you an update because, as you know, uh, the ICC, International Criminal Code people, committee, whatever, they issued an arrest warrant for Hamas leaders as well as the not the British, but the Israeli Prime Minister, Mr. Benny Netanyahu, and for war crimes. You got to ask yourself if that's the new standard. Are they going to go after George Bush and Barack Hussein Obama for war crimes? I don't think so. What about Biden? No, not at all. What about their own governments and their involvement in some of these conflicts as well? Probably not. So, people are asking what's going on. Well, I'm going to go back and kind of review what is going on. Okay, but before I go into that right now, when you come on, and you actually watch this video, you're just going to watch it. You probably notice some red stuff all over my face. I was out yesterday in the sun, and sometimes it makes my head break out and little blisters and gets real red. That's due to the iron deficiency in this illness that I inherited, this genetic stuff that I inherited. And there's not a whole lot I can do about it. So I'm wearing a hat. So if you see these red blotches, my apologies. I can't do anything about it. Sometimes I go out in the sun, nothing happens. Other times this happens. And someone asks me, does it hurt? Yes, it's painful. It's right here, right here. It just goes down. It's painful. Um, it feels like a severe sunburn, but there's no real red, but there's blotches and blisters and stuff. But anyway, that's just how it goes. So if I look funny, go ahead and laugh. So we are going to go ahead and do this. I'm going to do this review of Psalms 83, and we're going to talk about this. I'm not going to go in a lot of detail, and then I'm going to look forward to what we have to look forward into the future with some Bible numbers that I already did. I just kind of do a follow-up every once in a while so you can see basically what I taught in October 28th, October 7th through the 28th, and a little bit in September, October, November there, has come to pass. It's coming to pass before your eyes. I'm not a prophet, not at all. I just logical deduction, reasoning, figuring things out, praying, and I just felt compelled to do this video. So without much ado, let's just go into what I've done before with some of these older clips and slides I already have. So let's go to the slide, look at Psalms 83. This is a song, a psalm of Asaph, and it says, "Do not keep silent, O God, and do not hold your peace, and do not be still, O God. For behold, your enemies make atonement, and those who hate you have lifted up their head. They have taken crafty counsel against your people, and consulted together against your sheltered ones. They have said, Come, let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel may be remembered no more." So from October 7th through to current date, and this is what day is this? This is May 21st, 2024. What has happened in the ensuing months? We have protesters shouting from the river to the sea. Again, you have, "Come, let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel be no more." You have a worldwide phenomena of turning against Israel. This has been prophesied in the Bible. Happen. It's called the Psalms 83 war. If this Psalms 83 war happens, it will match and connect to other scriptures that involve the Psalms 83 war, like Isaiah chapter 11, verses 14 through 16. You can write these down, look them up yourself. And Zephaniah chapter 2, verses 4 through 15. It deals with Gaza, how they invade from the west, from the west to the east. And so, I think that's right. And it talks about Elam, which is Persia, okay? And it talks about all those, as I stated here already, those who are come, let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel be no more. In history, none of this has happened before, but now we have it happening before our eyes. So you can go back and look up those scriptures, but I'm going to continue reading the Psalms 83 so you can understand it as a sort of review. So let's see what happens here. Psalms 83, verses 5 through 6. For they have consulted together with one consent. They form a confederacy against you. And so if you take all the names of the people that are involved in the land masses and take the names of them, and you get this, and I inserted that in here in verses 6 here through so forth. It says, the tents of Edom, the bloody red ones, and the Ishmaelites, those who hear their God, Moab of his father, and the Hagarites, those who fled, those who hid and fled, and Jabal in the mountains of Lebanon, Ammon, the sons of renown, Amalek, those who dwell in the valley, Philistia, the land of immigrants, that's Gaza Strip, and the inhabitants of Tyre, the rock of pride, and Assyria, those who lie in wait, the ambushers, also have joined with them, and they have helped the children of Lot, those who cover over or hide something. So what you've got here is, in the name meanings, you have pretty much what you're seeing today, a confederacy being formed with the surrounding nations in the exact land areas, like in Lebanon. You have Hezbollah getting ready to pounce. You have the West Bank. You have over down in Egypt, and all this stuff is taking and taking shape, okay? And all these characters, it's happening just like it says it's happening. I mean, there's no doubt about it. And it says Shelah. Ponder, think of this. This is finally going on. And you have the people in the geographic locations where these are mentioned joining in with this confederacy. Let's continue. In verse 9 and 10, 9 through 12, it says this, deal with them as in Midian, as with Caesarea, as with Jabin at the brook of Kishron, who perished at Endor, who became as a refuge on the earth. Make their nobles like Oreb and Zeeb, yes, all their princes like Zebah and Zulamah, who said, let us take for ourselves the pasture of God for our possession. And so I'll break this down for you. The names mentioned are the pagan leaders. Now each met their demise and how they met their end. So I'm going to go to a Bible commentary so they can kind of break this down so you know what is happening. Okay, this is Dr. Paul Kretzerman's popular commentary. It's on Psalms 83, these verses. And he writes, and I quote, practically all the heathen nations surrounding Cain were directly or indirectly interested in this plan of annihilating Israel. So you have a plan to annihilate Israel that's going to take shape worldwide. And it's affecting this confederacy. It sets the stage for this. We're seeing protest and stuff. You got to understand why certain immigrants from the Middle East are invading Europe and turning it into an Islamic state. And they're planning the same for here. You just need to realize that, people, and smell some coffee and wake the you know what up. Your nation is about to be erased. Our nation's about to erase. Canada is being erased by insanity. And so you have this invasion and all these immigrants. I'll talk about that in a minute. Okay. So you have this happening. And look at, verse 9, it says, do unto them as the Midianites were practically annihilated at the time of Gideon. That's in Judges there. He gives you the scriptures. As to Caesarea, as to Jabin at the brook of Kishron at the time of Deborah and Joshua. And Judges chapter 4. This talks about this king who had a spike driven to his head. So what these verses are talking about here, these verses here, deal with them as Midian, as with Caesarea and Jabin and Endor, Oreb, Zebuli, and Zuba, Zumala. These were leaders of armies who met their fate. So the Psalms 83 war here is talking about how these individuals in the what you look for in the end time for this war is leadership being wiped out. Okay, leadership being wiped out. I don't have to read headlines. It is happening. These leaders that want to slay Israel are being bumped off. Okay, especially the Hamas leaders. Let's go back to Paul Ketzerman's thing. Verse 10, which perished at Endor, a town in northern edge of the plain of Jezreel, for it was where the battle against the host of Canaanites took place. They became as dung for the earth, their decaying carcasses forming manure, fertilizer for the soil of Canaan. So that's what that verse is talking about. So it's talking about those that are going to come against Israel, and probably in the near future, we don't know when, are they're going to be put to a world of hurt. Okay, that's what you look forward to. Make their nobles like Oreb and like Zeeb, the two princes of the midnight, slain at the time of Gideon. Yea, all their princes as Zebah and Zulah, slain by Gideon and their armies that had been defeated, who said, let us take ourselves the houses of God in possession, the river to the sea. They had intended to overthrow the true religion. Oh my God, make them like a wheel, like a whirlwind, wherever is carried away by a tornado, as with stubble before the wind, disappearing without leaving a trace behind. Verse 13 is an interesting verse. Oh my God, make them as a wheel, a whirlwind, whatever is carried away by a tornado, as with stubble before wind, disappearing without leaving a trace behind. So that you have to realize that the president or whatever, the leader of Iran, not the Ayatollah, but the guy second in well, the Ayatollah's in command, but the president of Iran was flying in a civilian helicopter during a whirlwind snowstorm, and he perished. And what does the UN do? They have a moment of silence for a murderous thug while the Iranians were celebrating in fire, shooting off fireworks, now in celebrating this guy's death because he's a tyrant. Well, the World Economic Forum loves tyrants, and so does Brussels, so does the UN in here. They love tyrants, and so does our government in the United States. And Justin Trudeau hug every tyrant in the world. And so you're seeing this happen. And so you had God just bump off somebody in a whirlwind. Just think about that. Just think about what's going on. And if this is really the Psalms 83 war, you're going to see leadership. And so far, the leadership is being bumped off. And they're pulling out all the stops. These people own primarily the majority of the news media. And they're great propaganda machines in universities. And they're going to side with the enemies because we are dealing in a time and place that wants to exterminate not only Israel, but all vestiges of Christianity. And many in America will rejoice in that because they think Christians are fascist and they need to be just put down. Why? What did we do to you? Did we force you to go to church? Did we put a gun to your head and say convert? Absolutely not. Militant Islamists do that. We've seen them taking these people out on the beach a while back and still are, and doing them great harm. Do we not? Psalms 83:17. Let them be confounded and dismayed forever. Yes, let them be put to shame and perish, that they may know that you, whose name alone is the Lord, or Yah, or Jehovah, are the most high over all the earth. Amen. So the Psalms 83 war is going to be a shocker. It's happening before our eyes. It's slow. It's been going on for a little time. And just like I say, expect more of the leadership being bumped off by unusual means, either by military means, by calamity, so forth, etc. Let's continue here. Let them be confounded and dismayed forever. Yes, let them be put to shame and perish, that they may know that you, whose name is Jehovah or Yahweh, are the most high over all the earth. That is what it's about. So, in the meantime, what are we to expect in our countries, in the Western world, as well as worldwide? What do we have to expect, in the future? Um, I made this slide here with the dates 22, 23, 24, 2025 on up there, and I overlaid it with a picture of this. I made this photograph in 2022. Okay, I didn't make it now, and I don't think I've used it in the video. I may have. But this is what you will see. You'll see a rise in the cost of living. You'll see higher prices. You'll see inflation. And remember, I put this down in 2022. I put this together and edit this little picture here. So that's what we will see. How did I know that? I simply read the Bible. And I understand how people take over other countries, especially a Marxist revolution, and which we are suffering under right now. I also understand why they do immigration. And what I'm going to say is very controversial, but it is the absolute factual thing. I did, and I still do. I'm still planning to get up to the reservations when I can get a car and get up there and visit my buddies and my friends and my family up there. I feel like they're my family. And I learned a lot from them because I sat down and just let them talk, and we talked together, and it's just a very powerful thing. And so this is what I learned. And then I went back in history books. And you got to understand there is no uh, color of your skin matters not. Every person's color of their skin has been fascist and totalitarian and has committed atrocities. It's just not one race of person. It is everybody. If you want to look up Massacre Canyon over, I think it's in Nebraska, look it up. Find out how two tribes massacred each other. You would understand what I'm talking about. I go to the reservation, I hear this story how one tribe took over an Arapaho tribe, and they did all kinds of atrocities to the women and stuff. I won't get into all that. I go to the Iroquois Nation. I go to all over. I go over any indigenous tribe. How they massacred, attacked each other, did all these things. And the Zulus, for example, and their conquest a long time ago. No nation. Every nation is guilty. Every nation has blood on its hands. And following critical Marxism is not going to fix anything. Forgiveness through the work of Christ is what will. But I digress. But the plan, these guys at this for a long time. So back in the United States, I'm going to go to the United States. I can go to anywhere. I can go back in ancient times and do this as well. But when in America, in particular, you had a great amount of land, and all these indigenous people were on the land, and so the corporate, or we call monopolize, the Morgans, what do you call them, the Rockefeller, the Vanderbilts, the people who had that money, had a vested interest, and also a lot of people were land speculators, saw an opportunity to get this land. So if they told the truth, the American public would be swayed to support the indigenous people. So how do you prevent swaying public support for what you want to do to indigenous people? Well, you send in and migrate a group of people into the country. Are you following me? Does it sound familiar? And so what you do is, what they did is that they sent settlers in there and Christian missionaries, and they supported them. They supported some of the worst kind of missionaries you could imagine. And let the First Nations people in America, let them speak on that, because what they say is true. These are really bad missionaries. And so it got them involved with erasing their culture, which I totally disagree with, and their identity as a people. And the reason why the elites want to do this is so they can put them on a in a reservation. Today we call it 15-minute cities, but I digress. But the idea was to, oh, they're massacring settlers, they're massacring Christians. So public support turned against the native folk. Okay? Let's modernize the same ideology. Let's bring in all kinds of immigrants to destroy the national identity of your country and mine, of who you are as a people. What you've done in the past is now considered evil. So instead of sending the military force, what do? Are sending missionaries. Here are the new missionaries they send into your country. The alphabet soup mob, the trans mob, enforced by government rule. Let's send them in. If they act out, then we can get rid of these people. Let's erase their Bible. Let's, like they're doing in Canada, let's erase their identity as a people. Let's next have immigrants come in, foreign immigrants. And what is little known in what happened in the American West is that a lot of immigrants came in, and a lot of them couldn't speak English. For example, there was an Italian guy who was with General Custer on the Bighorn battlefield. He could hardly speak English, but he was an Italian immigrant. And most of the military personnel were immigrants. A lot of them couldn't speak English. I can't remember the guy's name who wrote the book Crimson Prairie. I have a bunch of books on Western history. And a lot of the soldiers were immigrants, and they did not speak very good English. A lot of them were Norwegian, Italian, and so forth, and had a very limited vocabulary, but the military took them in. So why not have a large militant group of people to come in and use them as the new military to take over your country? They take over the international, ICC. They take over the mayorship of London. They take over places in Holland, and your national identity as a human being is being erased. I mean, this has all happened before. They've practiced this. This is what I'm saying. You need to wake up, folks. So another thing they do um, to weaken a country to take it over is you create tax and spend. You have a high cost of living. You have inflation going through the roof. Why would you do that? This is Alfred Kinsey's, tax and spend. Alfred Kinsey got his plans from the uh, Nazis. It was called the Walter Funk plan. Just look up Walter. They call it Walter, but it's Walter Funk. And he took over another guy as the Minister of Finance because he didn't want to do this. But he said, well, you tax and spend in order to collapse your other nation's economy, so you exalt your economy above all others. Okay, that's the idea. So you tax and spend in order to you collapse the economy so you have a one world currency. That was a Nazi plan. They couldn't carry it out because there's no way to do it, really, because everything was paper back then, paper money and hard coins. Now you got digital. Australia's going full digital soon, and you're going to lose your rights as a human being and as your identity as a people very soon. Canada, yeah, I think you might all be pretty close to it too. The United States is going that direction. Can't buy or sell or eat without a mark, right? Now they have the ability to carry out Walter Funk's, who Alfred Kinsey emulated. He took out the Nazi part and thought this was a great idea to use to bring everybody under submission to a one new order for the entire earth. You use whacked out deviants that have more rights than you to destroy their or destroy our national identity as a human being, and very anti-human. You implement policies and programs that will cause inflation, and so you collapse the economy. You come and rush to save the day. Everybody digital. You don't have to work anymore. You can stay home and play video games. and you're in your 15-minute city, in your new reservation, we'll give you, like Noah Harari says, we'll give you drugs to keep you happy. Have some booze, smoke another joint. If you ever spend any time on the reservation, you see this plan is being planned worldwide for everybody. So, with that, let's look and do a little more review of things I said in the past. A while back, let's see what I said so you can see what I said. I went through all these years from the Jewish lunar year and the Essenes year from 2020 to 2021. And I broke this down. I'm just showing you this is how I derive this. And I go through biblical numbers and I take the biblical number meanings and I apply it here and find the meaning of what the year 5781 does. You break it down into prime factors, and then the prime factors have meanings, and you put it together, and then this is what you find. And I also did it with the solar years 5945 and 2020 to 2021s. I did the same thing for that. And I did a comparison thing here. And so I put the meanings down there. And this is pretty much what I got for those years. And 2020 to 20 to September 2020 to September 21. Do you guys remember what happened back then? This is what it means. So the lunar year means this. A time when all are being moved to be united and devoted to man's rebellious rule, who rule by deception, humiliation, submission, surrender, are moved to behold a covenant that delivers a new direction for life. The Essenes calendar year for this 2020 to 2021 means, behold, conflict comes when the wholly separated one departs, so that humanity is ruled by deception, fraud, deceit, misunderstanding, misconstruction, confusion, delusion, and falsity of compassion and happiness. Did you see that happen? Are you seeing it happen now? It still continues, but this is when it kicked in. Falsity, gender confusion. Have you seen any of this happen? How accurate is that? You decide. I'm just reporting. Let's look at the year here, the Jewish calendar year 5782, September 2021 to 22. And I wrote this down. Before the Jubilee begins, the household of God is divided by rich, powerful oppressors who, by their justice, scatter and divide all with gifts of sacrifice, with gifts that sacrifice love. That's declared by their messengers, revelations that seek to cause the household of man and church to depart from faith in God through praise or praising threats of wrath. So all obey, submit to their representative leadership. That started back then. It's in full swing now, especially in Canada with their hate crime law. I want you to think. So I'm going to jump on, and then I did the numbers. And I put the numbers down there so you can see it. September 22 to September 23. This is the Jewish lunar year. And it says, the hubristic are united with each other to use the mysteries of darkness, that's occult knowledge works, to break God's moral law and order by using their judgments against God's order norms, by conjuring to bring forth irresponsibility, disorder, confusion, and chaos. Have you noticed that? This is brought about by extolling and praising the virtues of failures, deficiencies, promoting bankruptcy, increasing breakdowns, exploiting disappointments and disasters to bring about the cessation of all normal functioning, to fracture God's order, norms, and moral law, accomplished by introducing destruction, ruin, theft, and death by force of arms to take total possession of everything, so their new way of life resurrects, procreates out of the ashes of the old order. I don't know what to say. Brought about extolling and praising the virtues of failures, deficiencies, promoting bankruptcy, increasing breakdowns, exploiting disappointments and disasters. Hey, that's about the time they really kicked in with geoengineering, too. We're seeing all kinds of strange weather phenomena. I will guarantee you, I don't even have to, I'm not a prophet, I can guarantee you they're going to geoengineer climate catastrophes and disasters in order to justify, this is all climate, the climate confusion. This is climate confusion. Climate is very confused, and if you give us all your money and give everything to us, we will solve the climate confusion. So the climate can never be confused again. You have perfect sunny days and enough rain and everything like that. So they want to increase deficiencies. That's getting worse. Did you know that the state of Oregon is now pretty much saying that if you have a 1 acre or so acre farm and you grow food, you can't do it anymore. You can't water it because the state as well as corporations now own all the water rights. Boy, geoengineering, famine, wow, disasters for many. Okay, let's go to see what the Essenes calendar year 5947 from September 22 to September 23 means. It says, lying prophets and messengers of apostasy decree judgment against faith and faithfulness in the knowledge of God, his truth, his mercy, by bursting upon the land or earth, okay, a life lived where there are no protective restraints, boundaries, or bonds. That's pretty much what happened in the church during that time. And people were leaving the knowledge of God and his faithfulness. And they're saying you don't need any protective boundaries and restraints, especially in the church. Anything goes. Fly these multicolored flags out. Be hip with the crowd. Run with the world. Don't read the Bible. The Bible. Don't ever say the Bible, the Bible, the Bible. No, no. Just say Paul said or Paul, whatever. John wrote or Hosea wrote, but you can never say God said, because man wrote the Bible. You can't trust the Bible. Yet the Bible predicted this stuff. What about both the Jewish lunar and Essene solar year that begins next September 23 through September 24, this past year? And I put the prime factors up there, but anyway, you can see it. Truth divides a house to see who belongs to what house, God's, man's, or the devil's. By opening doors or creative works to a pathway that separates everyone into a new era or beginning. Whether either the saints of God are brought into bondage, captivity, or prison to anoint to accept a new rulership, a new king, ruler, kingdom, or remain true to the true King, King Jesus Christ, who collects his faithful, righteous, sanctified ones unto himself. Essenes calendar year for this from September 23 to September 24. It says, truth divides the house of God by the creative works of worthless shepherds who open the doors when these worthless shepherds abandon their leadership responsibility to the flock by forsaking, deserting the message of redemption, being true to Christ, the message of or about heaven or hell. And these worship shepherds divide by opening the door for rich, powerful oppressors to divide the flock, God's people, before the plagues are unleashed, or plagues which begin producing great scarcity. So these rich, powerful oppressors become leaders who rule over the flock of God's house before the plagues are unleashed. Geoengineering, that stuff that they did over not too long ago, a month or so ago, and they're probably still doing with this decommissioned aircraft carrier spraying what is tantamount to sulfur, some type of sulfur that volcanoes produce. In other words, freon up in the atmosphere to put a shade and cool down the planet, because we have climate confusion. We can't have climate confusion. No, 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 no. Gender confusion's okay, but climate confusion, no, 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 no. We're going to solve it. Yeah, Mr. Science. Creating great scarcity. Holland, one of the most fertile countries in the world, now instead of solving the problem logically and simply and a lot cheaply, they have to confiscate the lands and tell the farmers don't grow any more food. Why? You're talking about eugenists who want to harvest people and reduce how many serfs are on the planet. You just need a workable one for the elite. You don't need, you have robots can do the rest. And they need to take over the church and deconstruct the church. But basically, when I go back and review everything, it's like, wow, how accurate is that when it talks about the Psalms 83 war and the bumping off of leadership, which we are seeing, and how some type of vortex and weather phenomena actually gets rid of a leader. And when it just happened in northern Iran. So, yeah, there are things that are happening, folks. Strap on your seatbelts and just know that things are rocking and rolling, and things will happen. And I know when I did some of the numbers, it alludes to preparing yourself for what's coming, especially the idea of this next following year. I'm just doing this from memory, is to prepare your heart for what's coming, and because God's going to be separating things in the church. A lot of people have already talked about this. That part is true. You're going to separate. Uh, you're going to get rid of the apostatizing people and group them, and they want to go there, and then the others go there, and that matches the message of the 7 churches in Book of Revelation as well. So, and the Bible numbers that I interpreted strongly support those things. They match it for the year September 24 to 25, and from September 25 to September 2026. And both all they support what the Bible says, and just a little more detail, like a commentary in a way. And so the separation is going to continue. I remember that part when I just forgot to put it in here. But anyway, hope you enjoyed this ad hoc video, and don't mind the red blotches on my forehead. They're all over the place, little blisters from the sun, and really bad here. It just hurts. Not much you can do about it, so it happens. And so, how can I end this on a more positive note? Well, Jesus is coming back. Hallelujah. And the Lord wins. Just know that. Just know that the Lord wins. And start looking up for your redemption draws nigh, and pray that be counted worthy to stand before Him. Do I understand what all that means and how to do that? I don't think there's anybody has a formula. You're just going to have to go before the Lord yourself and ask questions. What do I do? Okay. I listened to Jim Cymbala from the Brooklyn Tabernacle, his Mother's Day's message, and I suggest you all listen to it. He did a teaching on Matthew 25, and and it was about the guy going away. He gave the people bags of silver, talents of silver, bags of silver, and the last guy buried his bag of silver or his talent and didn't do anything with it. The other two, they doubled the money. So when the master came back, so the guy, and I'll add to what Jim Cymbala says this because he didn't say this part, but the guy who hid his talent, his bag of money in the ground, thought that the master's on a long voyage. What happens if he is injured and doesn't come back? Well, guess what? I have the money in the ground. It'll be mine, and nobody will know it. So that's why he called him a wicked, lazy servant. And all he was asking, why didn't you just put it in the bank and had a little interest when I come back? Because the other two were rewarded, and they're going to give more stuff they proved themselves. And so what is that? I like what Jim Cymbala says, how he stated, and I can't do justice how he does it, but, you have, um, so how do you prepare your heart? How do where is your heart at? Is your heart in the world, or is it toward Jesus? Do you have any interest to start to know Jesus better? Do you have a little interest? What are you going to do with your mind? What are you going to do with what God gave you? God gave you a voice to speak. How are you using your voice? How are you using your hearing? How are you using to convey the message? How are you living your life? Nobody can tell you how to put it in the bank to earn a little interest. In my book, Heaven Beckons, I go in and talk about being born with a partial cleft palate, and I have a soft palate. I did not have that little punching bag in the back of your throat, the uvula, whatever you call it. all I had, when I was little, I had to have all that remade. Looking back at how I was when I was younger, I probably had attention deficit disorder. It wasn't real bad, but once I found something I liked, I latched onto it. But usually I latched onto it, then I jumped to something else. My wife, even to this day, says, "Why can't you sit still?" I'm much better than I used to be. But so the Lord, the devil did everything to shut me up, tried to take my mouth out, so I couldn't talk when I was a kid. Is what I'm saying. So I had all the surgery done, and later I had to go to speech therapy to learn how to articulate. I had one really super bad stuttering problem, and sometimes it comes out when I start talking too fast. I can't help it, and my mind's going like way over here, but I'm here, and I have, and what they taught me in speech class or in speech therapy, you got to bring these things together, and how to articulate, how to talk, how to enunciate. I still have trouble enunciating words, and forgive me if I get that, but God gave me a voice, and I'm using it. Hallelujah. I have no idea myself what to do, what He gave me. He gave me a heart, He gave me a mind, He gave me ears, eyes. What am I using them for? What am I watching? Sometimes, you know, everyone is telling me, "Oh, you got to watch this thing on Amazon Prime called The Fallout." So I turned it on, and it began well, like in the 1950s, and these nuclear bombs explosion. But after that, I had to turn it off. I said, "This is a sick movie. I ain't watching this trash." And I'm sorry if you like that stuff. I mean, what are you doing with your eyes? I'm not watching that. That's just too much for me. I don't need to see that. And that was just the first episode. I'm screw, Mm-mm. So not going that direction. So I'm using my eyes that way. What are you going to use your eyes for? What do you use your heart for? We're not perfect. We all make mistakes. So I think the idea of what's coming up when I did those other numbers is basically the Lord separating and asking a question. I gave you heart, mind, ears, words, brain. What are you doing with it? Are you using it to apostatize? Are you using it to justify apostatizing? What are you doing with it? All I have to do is turn back and say, "Lord, I can't do anything with it unless you give me permission to help me. Help me change," and start making some changes. So that's pretty much up to between you and the Lord to do. But if you like to contact me, my contact information is all on the screen. And if you'd like to support what I do, it's all there. From on PayPal, you can go there, and I have my two books, Land Unknown, Hell's Dominion, and Heaven Beckons, and my writing name is B.W. Melvin. You can help support me that way. And like I say, there are people out there who ask for money. They mimic you, and they call you, contact you, maybe give you email or something and begging for money. Just know I don't do that. I believe the Lord will support me however He so wills through the gracious people who have. And so far, I want to personally thank everybody who has supported me. It has helped tremendously. The support that you gave me, as well as your prayers too. Your prayers are very important. So with that, you guys be blessed in Jesus' name.